Read the passage titled Digital Sounds, then answer the question. Digital sounds. Electronic music is a technique, not a style. It can be created for jazz, classical, rock, country, rap, and so on. Some people say that electronic music is anything produced or amplified by something electric. Others argue that music is electronic only if it is composed with electronic processing in mind. Many composers use electronic instruments to give new sounds to traditional classics, while others compose music intended to maximize the potential of electronic sound. Electronic music is particularly effective in providing unique sounds to highlight key moments in movies. Whatever your definition, the history of electronic music involves the creation of all sorts of ways to create, amplify, and store a wide variety of music. Electronic synthesizers, early to mid centuries. The synthesizer means to combine parts into a new whole. An electronic audio synthesizer is a device that creates and changes sound using electricity. We think of synthesizers as being relatively modern devices. However, electronic devices that are used to create music have been around for a long time. Many inventors had wonderful ideas and worked many years to create electronic instruments, only to find that they were ahead of the technology needed to fulfill their dreams. As strange as it might seem, the invention of the telephone in the 1870s had profound effects on music. The telephone got people thinking about how electrical signals could be changed into sound. Immediately, inventors began to experiment with producing sound electronically. It wasn't until the early 1900s, however, that both inventors and composers realized the potential of the new medium. It was then that electronic music was born, but it had a long way to go. In the late 1800s, inventors began to develop ways in which electronically produced sound could be used for musical purposes. Thaddeus Cahill began creating rotary generators and telephone receivers to create musical sounds. He called his invention the teleharmonium. Cahill tried for many years to perfect and simplify it. His instrument failed, however, partly because amplifiers and loudspeakers hadn't been invented and the sound his instrument produced was not loud enough to hear well. Another key development in electronic music was the invention of the theremin, around 1920 by a Russian named Leon Theremin. The theremin translates hand movements near its antenna into sound. Later on, the theremin was popular for producing spooky and otherworldly sounds for science fiction and horror movies, such as The Day the Earth Stood Still and It Came from Outer Space. Likewise, the ondes martenot, invented in France in 1928 by Maurice Martenot, could produce a wide variety of effects using a keyboard. It was popular for producing background music for early science fiction television programs. And lest we forget the heart of rock and roll, George Beauchamp and Adolf Rickenbacker invented the first practical electric guitar around 1930. Because the acoustic guitar is hollow, the vibrations of the strings spread to the guitar's body, causing electrical signals to become disrupted. Guitar makers developed guitars with solid bodies to minimize vibrations. Les Paul and Leo Fender continued experimenting to bring the electric guitar into common use. Also used in rock and roll, as well as other types of music such as jazz, was the Hammond organ. Lawrence Hammond developed this instrument in 1934. The Hammond was affordably priced and popular for live performances as well as for private use. Finally, inventors and technicians created ways to pump up the volume of the sounds they created. Electronics can also be used to make a signal louder. Early inventors discovered many ways to produce sounds electronically, but the sounds were very difficult to hear. The first audio amplifier was a triode vacuum tube that was patented by Lee DeForest in 1907. The ability to amplify sound significantly changed the musical experience. Electronic synthesizers from mid-century to present. Robert Moog developed the modern analog synthesizer in 1964. This gigantic instrument was used in studios, but it was too large to use for most public performances. The synthesizer was used to create unusual sounds and to reproduce the sounds of most instruments. It can synthesize thousands of electronic sounds. A generator produces the signal, and the operator uses a variety of controls to modify it. The synthesizer is usually controlled through a keyboard. It can also be used with other controllers, such as wind controllers, drum pads, and foot pedals. The portable Mini Moog was introduced in 1970, and at least one model of the synthesizer remains popular with many musicians today. Today, every step in the production of a music track can be created digitally. Music is recorded digitally instead of onto vinyl or tape. Vocals are digitally reworked to remove imperfections or to produce unique sounds. Instrumentation is often produced or changed with computers. Digital synthesizers were developed in the 1980s. Analog synthesizers produce electric waveforms like those produced by an acoustic instrument. Digital synthesizers use computer technology to produce sounds, represented by computer code that are converted to waveforms. Digital synthesizers can do anything that can be described as an algorithm or a systemic procedure. The Yamaha DX7 was one of the earliest and most successful digital synthesizers. The popular Casio CZ101, a battery-operated keyboard, was introduced in 1984. Music and technology. Changes in music production have also moved at an incredible speed. Systems were developed for storing music as well as playing it. The Kurzweil 250 could produce the sound of a grand piano and other musical instruments so well that some people could not tell the difference between the real and the synthesized. Another major change in musical technology was the MIDI, or MIDI, Musical Instrument Digital Interface. This system allows musicians, software developers, and instrumentalists to work together within one system. Technology continues to make it easier to produce and distribute music. It allows musicians to work together from great distances. Technology has also changed the way people sell music. They can produce music and immediately sell it through the internet. Digital music has come a long way over time, and it seems that as technology continues to change, so will the way we think about and create music. Question 9, Part A. Which of the following sentences correctly states an idea that the author includes in the passage? A. If the telephone had been invented just 50 years earlier, electronic music would have been way more advanced by now. B. Sometimes inventors came up with ideas for electronic instruments, but current technology wasn't yet advanced enough to make them a reality. C. The theremin, though invented way earlier than the Mini Moog, was nevertheless way more advanced. D. In the future, digital music pioneers are likely to create instruments that sound way better than analog instruments. Part B. Which two details from the passage best support the answer to Part A? Choose 2. A. Many inventors had wonderful ideas and worked many years to create electronic instruments, only to find that they were ahead of the technology needed to fulfill their dreams. Paragraph 2. B. As strange as it might seem, the invention of the telephone in the 1870s had profound effects on music. Paragraph 2. C. His instrument failed. However, partly because amplifiers and loudspeakers hadn't been invented, and the sound his instrument produced was not loud enough to hear well. Paragraph 3. D. Digital synthesizers use computer technology to produce sounds, represented by computer code, that are converted to waveforms. Paragraph 8. E. Changes in music production have also moved at an incredible speed. Paragraph 9. F. Technology continues to make it easier to produce and distribute music. Paragraph 10. Question 10. Which of the following 2 people invented electronic instruments that were often used to create music for science fiction movies and TV shows? Choose 2. A. Robert Moog. B. George Buchanan. C. Adolf Rickenbacker. D. Leon Theremin. E. Thaddeus Cahill. F. Maurice Martineau. 11. Part A. What does the word amplify mean as it is used in the passage? A. To add detail. B. To inflate. C. To make louder. D. To overstate. Part B. Underline one sentence in the passage that helps the reader understand the meaning of the word amplify. Question 12, Part A. What is the author's view of electronic music? A. Digital music will improve the quality of music. B. Experimentation with music and technology has created new art forms. C. Amplification changed the music experience. D. Technology has improved the way music is made and sold. Part B. Find a sentence from the passage that supports the answer to Part A. Circle that sentence in the passage. Question 13. Write in the chart 3 major changes that happened as the music industry was digitized from the list below. Not every detail will be used. Choose 3. Les Paul and Leo Fender continued experimenting to bring the electric guitar into common use. Paragraph 5. The portable Mini Moog was introduced in 1970. Paragraph 7. Today, every step in the production of a music track can be created digitally. Paragraph 8. Synthesizers could produce the sound of musical instruments so well that some people could not tell the difference. Paragraph 9. The MIDI allows musicians, software developers, and instrumentalists to work together within one system. Paragraph 9. Question 14, Part A. What is the author's purpose in the closing paragraph? A. To show that technology has changed music in good ways. B. To convince the reader that technology makes it easier to create music. C. To predict that technology will keep changing music. D. To demonstrate that technology will define music. Part B. Which detail from the passage supports the answer to Part A? A. Today, every step in the production of a music track can be created digitally. Paragraph 8. B. Changes in music production have also moved at an incredible speed. Paragraph 9. C. Technology continues to make it easier to produce and distribute music. Paragraph 10. D. Digital music has come a long way over time. Paragraph 10. This is the end of part 2 of the February mock exam.